My brother is getting divorced, and I think he deserves it. My brother and his wife have been married for almost 20 years and have 3 kids in their teens. My soon-to-be ex-SIL filed for divorce recently because she can no longer stand all the years of infidelity. I've heard about my brother's disgusting behavior for years, but I think they always stayed together for the kids' sake. Unsurprisingly, my SIL can't stand for it any longer, and now my brother is scrambling and trying to... My brother is getting divorced, and I think he deserves it. My brother and his wife have been married for almost 20 years and have 3 kids in their teens. My soon-to-be ex-sister-in-law filed for divorce recently because she can no longer stand all the years of infidelity. I've been hearing about my brother's disgusting behavior for years, the cheating, the lies, the complete disrespect for his family. But they always seem to stay together, probably for the kids' sake. My sister-in-law endured it all, keeping the family together while my brother destroyed it piece by piece. She finally reached her breaking point. After 2 decades of marriage, after raising 3 teenagers together, after countless betrayals and broken promises, she couldn't take anymore. The divorce papers were filed, and suddenly my brother's whole world came crashing down. Now he's scrambling. Suddenly he wants to make it up to her. Suddenly he's worried about the kids hating him. Where was this concern when he was sneaking around behind his wife's back? Where was this devotion to his family when he was repeatedly breaking his marriage vows? The thing that really gets me is how he claims to love his kids. He has 2 daughters, and he says he loves them more than anything. But if that were true, how could he treat their mother this way? What kind of example is he setting? What if someday someone treats his daughters the way he's treated his wife? Would he be okay with that? I don't understand these men who say they love their families, but then pull this kind of behavior. You can't claim to love your children while simultaneously destroying their home. You can't say you care about their well-being while traumatizing their mother. It's pure selfishness, disguised as love. My family will probably expect me to comfort him, to be the supportive sibling who helps him through this difficult time. They'll want me to cheer him up, maybe even encourage him to fight for his marriage, but I don't want to. He brought this entirely upon himself. Every single consequence he's facing right now is the direct result of his own choices. Good for my sister-in-law. Good for her for finally breaking free from this toxic situation. After 20 years of putting up with his infidelity, she's finally putting herself first. It takes incredible strength to walk away from a 20-year marriage, especially with 3 kids involved. But sometimes walking away is the only way to save yourself. If the kids end up hating their father, that's on him too. It's not because of the divorce. It's because of the way he's been treating their mother for years. Kids aren't stupid. They see everything, even when parents think they're hiding it. They've watched their father disrespect their mother. They've probably sensed the tension, the fights, the lies. The divorce isn't creating the problem. It's just making the existing problem visible. I feel terrible for those kids. They're teenagers, which is already a difficult time, and now they're dealing with their parents' divorce. They're going to learn things about their father that will change how they see him forever. That kind of disillusionment is devastating, especially when it's about a parent you're supposed to look up to. But this is no way for them to live. Growing up in a house where one parent constantly betrays the other isn't healthy. Watching their mother suffer in silence while their father continues his pattern of infidelity would have damaged them even more in the long run. Sometimes divorce is the healthier option, even when it's painful. The hurt that's coming when they find out the full extent of their father's behavior is going to be intense. Learning that your parent has been lying and cheating for years destroys your sense of security. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about your family. But they deserve to know the truth. They deserve to understand why their family is falling apart. My sister-in-law has been protecting them from this reality for years, probably hoping things would change, hoping their father would grow up and start acting like the husband and father he should be. But people don't change unless they want to. And my brother clearly never wanted to change badly enough to actually do it. Infidelity has become almost normalized in our culture, especially among older generations. There's this attitude that it's just something that happens, something wives should tolerate and work through. But that's completely wrong. Cheating is a choice, and it's a choice that destroys families. The newer generation shouldn't have to accept this as normal behavior. Those kids should never have to grow up thinking that infidelity is acceptable in a relationship. They should never have to watch one parent betray the other repeatedly. They deserve to see what healthy relationships look like, what mutual respect and faithfulness actually mean. Staying in this marriage would have taught them that this kind of treatment is something you just endure. My brother had every opportunity to be a good husband and father. He had a wife who loved him, who stayed with him through 20 years of marriage. He had 3 beautiful children who looked up to him. He had a family that many people would be grateful for. And he threw it all away for what? For affairs that meant nothing? For the temporary thrill of sneaking around? The saddest part is that he probably does love his family, but love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice you make every single day. It's choosing to honor your commitments, even when it's difficult. It's putting your family's well-being above your own selfish desires. It's being the person your spouse and children can depend on. My brother failed at all of these things. Now he's facing the consequences, and he's shocked that his actions finally caught up with him. He probably thought he could keep getting away with it forever. He probably thought his wife would keep tolerating it, keep making excuses, keep holding the family together while he tore it apart. But everyone has a limit, and she finally reached hers. The "I don't want the kids to hate me" routine is particularly frustrating. He should have thought about that before he started cheating. He should have considered how his actions would affect his children before he made the choice to betray their mother over and over again. You can't spend years destroying your family and then suddenly care about the consequences when it's too late to undo the damage. My sister-in-law deserves so much better than this. She deserves a partner who respects her, who honors their marriage, who doesn't make her question her worth every single day. She deserves to not have to worry about what her husband is doing when he's not home. She deserves to feel secure in her relationship instead of constantly wondering if he's cheating again. After 20 years of this treatment, she's finally choosing herself. She's finally saying that she deserves better, that her children deserve better, that this isn't the life she wants to live anymore. That takes incredible courage, especially when you have teenagers to think about, when you're facing the prospect of starting over after 2 decades with someone. I hope she finds happiness. I hope she discovers what it's like to be with someone who actually values her, who treats her with the respect and love she deserves. I hope her children see their mother thriving and learn what self-respect looks like. I hope they understand that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from a situation that's destroying you. As for my brother, maybe this will finally be the wake-up call he needs. Maybe losing his family will force him to take a hard look at his behavior and actually change. But honestly, I doubt it. People who cheat for years and years usually don't suddenly become different people just because they face consequences. They usually just get better at hiding it or find someone new to manipulate. Either way, I'm not going to pretend to feel sorry for him. I'm not going to comfort him or tell him everything will work out. He made his choices, and now he gets to live with the results. His wife and children are the victims here, not him. The kids will eventually understand that their mother did what she had to do to protect herself and them. They'll realize that staying in that marriage would have been worse than leaving it. They'll see their mother's strength and hopefully learn from her example that you don't have to tolerate being treated badly, even by someone who claims to love you. My ex-sister-in-law and those kids are going to be okay. It's going to be hard for a while, but they're going to be okay. They're finally free from the toxicity and lies. They can start building a life based on honesty and respect, instead of betrayal and pain. And my brother will have to live with knowing that he destroyed the best thing that ever happened to him. WIBTAH, if I went to stay with my parents for a couple of weeks, because my husband's family planned a 5 to 6 week stay in our 2-bedroom flat without asking me? I, 29-year-old female, got married in December, less than 3 months ago, after being with my husband, 29-year-old male, for almost 7 years. One thing I've always been very clear about with him, both before and after marriage, is that I need my space, and that decisions about people staying in our home should involve both of us. Recently, I found out that his sister, her husband, their child, and my in-laws have all booked tickets to come stay with us. That's about 5 to 6 weeks total. I would be more than happy to host them for 1 or 2 weeks, but 5 to 6 weeks seems too overwhelming at this stage of our marriage. The part that really upset me is that no one asked me beforehand. I only found out after everything was already booked. I discovered this information when someone casually asked how long the family was planning to stay, as if I already knew about the arrangements. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment in an extremely hot climate, and this visit will mean 7 people in the house during peak summer. My husband will be at work most of the day, so I'll be the one at home with everyone while he's gone. There are significant lifestyle differences I'll have to navigate. My in-laws are strict vegetarians who won't even let us make eggs at home, while my husband and I both eat non-vegetarian food as a staple diet. I already know I'll have to adjust what I eat at home, what I wear around the house, and generally how I live for that entire 6-week period. What hurts me more is that this isn't the first time we've discussed boundaries around house guests. For years, my husband told me he understood that I need space and that he would handle these situations with his family. This was the one deal breaker from my end, but he always assured me he would make sure I never had to be put in situations like this. When I brought this boundary violation up again, after finding out about the extended visit, his response was dismissive and unhelpful. He basically said, "What do you want me to do? Everything is already booked." This response showed her that he either didn't take her concerns seriously or didn't want to deal with the uncomfortable conversation with his family about changing their plans. For additional context, she moved away from her own family and friends to live where he works, so this house is pretty much her entire world right now. She doesn't have the same support system or escape routes that she would have had if they lived near her family. The apartment represents her only sanctuary, and now that space is being invaded without her consent. The situation feels even more unfair because his parents keep coming to visit them for 7 to 10 days every other month anyway. These frequent visits were also never discussed with her beforehand, but in good faith, she adjusted her schedule and lifestyle to accommodate them each time. She's been compromising repeatedly while her boundaries continue to be ignored. At this point, she's honestly feeling really hurt and disrespected. It feels like decisions about her own home were made without her input or consideration. She's questioning whether her voice matters in this marriage when it comes to their shared living space. She's considering going to stay with her parents for a couple of weeks while her in-laws are visiting, just to get some space and maintain her sanity. However, her parents live on the other side of the country, so it's not a small trip logistically or financially. She's not sure spending that much money on travel would be financially advisable, especially as newlyweds who are probably still managing wedding expenses and setting up their household. The timing of this visit makes everything more challenging. They're still in the honeymoon phase of their marriage, supposedly the time when couples are most focused on each other and building their new life together. Instead, she's facing 6 weeks of having no privacy with her husband and no space to be herself in her own home. The heat factor adds another layer of stress to the situation. 7 people crammed into a 2-bedroom apartment during peak summer in an extremely hot climate sounds like a recipe for tension and discomfort. There will likely be competition for bathroom time, limited refrigerator space, higher electricity bills from air conditioning, and general overcrowding in every room. She's also worried about the daily dynamics once everyone arrives. With her husband at work, she'll essentially become the default hostess and caretaker for his family members. She'll be expected to entertain them, possibly cook for them according to their dietary restrictions, and maintain harmony in the household while sacrificing her own comfort and routine. The dietary restrictions present a particular challenge because they're not just about cooking separate meals. Her in-laws won't even allow eggs to be prepared in the home, which suggests they might have strong reactions to any non-vegetarian cooking or even the smell of such foods. This means she'll have to completely alter her eating habits in her own kitchen for 6 weeks. Her clothing and behavior will also need to be modified around her in-laws. Many traditional families have expectations about how daughters-in-law should dress. She's looking at 6 weeks of potentially not being able to wear comfortable clothes, like shorts or sleeveless tops, in her own home, depending on her in-laws' comfort levels. The broken promise aspect cuts particularly deep. Her husband spent years assuring her that he understood her need for space and would protect that boundary with his family. This was clearly important enough to her that she made it a deal breaker. Yet he's failed to follow through when it actually mattered. His casual dismissal of her concerns with "everything is already booked" suggests he prioritizes avoiding conflict with his family over honoring agreements with his wife. The pattern of his parents visiting every other month without discussion shows this isn't an isolated incident, but part of a larger problem with boundaries. She's been accommodating these unilateral decisions in good faith, probably hoping that her flexibility would be appreciated and reciprocated with better communication. Instead, the boundary violations have escalated to a 6-week invasion. Her isolation makes the situation more desperate. Having moved away from her support system for his career, she doesn't have local friends or family she can easily visit for a break. The apartment that should be her refuge has become a source of stress. She's essentially trapped in a situation where her only options are to endure 6 weeks of discomfort or spend significant money to flee her own home. The financial pressure of traveling across the country adds insult to injury. She shouldn't have to pay money to escape an uncomfortable situation that was created without her input. The cost of flights, potentially hotels, and other travel expenses could be substantial, especially for a couple of weeks away. This expense comes as a direct result of her husband's failure to maintain boundaries with his family. She's questioning whether going to her parents' house would send the right message or just avoid addressing the underlying problem. If she leaves, her husband might not fully understand the impact of his decisions because he won't experience the discomfort of the overcrowded living situation. He'll be at work during the day and might actually enjoy having his family around when he comes home. On the other hand, staying might mean 6 weeks of resentment building up between them, which could damage their marriage more than a temporary separation. She'd be forced to smile and be hospitable while feeling angry and unheard. The stress of maintaining appearances while feeling disrespected could create lasting problems in their relationship. The situation also raises questions about how future decisions will be made in their marriage. If her husband can dismiss her concerns this easily when his family is involved, will every major decision involving his family be made without her input? Is this the pattern she can expect for the rest of their marriage? His family's behavior in booking everything without checking with her also suggests they don't see her as an equal decision maker in the household. They may view her husband as the primary authority figure who can make unilateral decisions about their shared home. This dynamic could be difficult to change if it's not addressed directly. The extended duration of the visit is particularly problematic because it goes far beyond normal hospitality expectations. Most people would consider 1 to 2 weeks a reasonable length for house guests, but 6 weeks crosses into the territory of temporary relocation. His family is essentially moving in for almost 2 months without considering the impact on the newlyweds. She's also dealing with this stress while still adjusting to married life and potentially managing other post-wedding changes. The first few months of marriage are typically when couples are learning to navigate daily life together and establish their routines as a married couple. Having extended family present for such a significant portion of this adjustment period could interfere with their bonding and relationship development. The heat and overcrowding will likely create additional tension among all the house guests, not just between her and them. Tempers tend to run shorter when people are uncomfortably hot and crowded, which could lead to conflicts she'll be expected to mediate or endure as the hostess. Her question about how others would handle this situation suggests she's looking for validation that her feelings are reasonable and her proposed solution is appropriate. She seems to be second-guessing herself, possibly because her husband's dismissive response made her wonder if she's being unreasonable or selfish. The fact that she's even asking if she would be wrong to seek space in her parents' home shows how much she's been conditioned to prioritize others' comfort over her own. Most people would consider it completely reasonable to want advance notice and input on a 6-week visit from multiple family members to their small apartment. She's caught between wanting to be a good daughter-in-law and wife, while also protecting her own mental health and marriage. The pressure to always be accommodating and flexible can be overwhelming, especially for someone who has already made significant sacrifices by moving away from her support system. Her husband's failure to advocate for her with his family represents a fundamental breakdown in the partnership aspect of marriage. Spouses should present a united front when dealing with extended family, and major household decisions should involve both partners. His willingness to let his family make plans without consulting her sends a message about whose opinions matter most in their household. The situation has left her feeling hurt, disrespected, and questioning her place in her own home and marriage. After years of clear communication about her boundaries and her husband's repeated assurances, she's facing exactly the scenario she said she couldn't handle. The betrayal of trust may be more damaging to their relationship than the actual inconvenience of the extended visit. She's now forced to choose between enduring 6 weeks of discomfort and stress in her own home, or spending money she may not have to flee the situation her husband created. Neither option should be necessary if proper boundaries and communication had been maintained from the beginning. NC update. We aren't the only ones at fault here. An update to my last post. I learned my lesson with Sil and will refrain from speaking about MIL at all with her going forward. I knew it was a bad idea when I was doing it, so I really have no defense here and agree with all of the comments completely. There were several comments asking why I care if I'm NC, and I wish I knew the answer, because my husband has asked the same question. Phil called NC update. We aren't the only ones at fault here. An update to my last post. I learned my lesson with Sil and will refrain from speaking about MIL at all with her going forward. I knew it was a bad idea when I was doing it, so I really have no defense here and agree with all of the comments completely. There were several comments asking why I care if I'm NC, and I wish I knew the answer, because my husband has asked the same question. Phil called my husband yesterday to speak on behalf of MIL, as always. Phil is the type of man who thinks if he gets loud, the other person will be intimidated and concede. Thankfully, my husband has outgrown that. He called and was very heated, which was strange because BIL and SIL had been home for a few days already. The call started with Phil immediately going into attack mode. We can't even see pictures of our grandkids? Really? You're gonna shut us out like that? That hurts our feelings so much. It's so frustrating. He was yelling, of course. My husband didn't back down. Yes, you know what the situation is. The garbage you two do hurts our feelings, but that's never considered. Phil tried a different angle. You've hardly talked to your mother in 6 months. Do you even know who she is anymore? Yes, the same person she's always been. Why is it my responsibility to reach out to mom when she's the one who caused this? My husband shot back. I've tried to make this right, Phil insisted. My husband was having none of it. The issue has never been you. It's mom, but you enable her. If you call just to have a screaming match, I'm going to hang up. And if every time you call it's to talk in circles, I won't speak to you. Phil switched tactics again. We've tried and tried and tried. When you're ready to have a conversation, our door is open. And we've tried and tried and tried. I've tried talking to you guys 1,000,000 times and nothing changes. Mom knows exactly what she's said about me, how she feels about me, how she's treated me, but she refuses to own it. We don't want a backhanded apology. No, sorry you feel that way, or blaming it all on me. Mom can own all her garbage without conditions and give a genuine apology, and then we can move forward. Unless that happens, this is the way things are. Why am I delusional enough to think these people will change? Also, even if MIL did what my husband is asking her to, I'm not ready to even bring her near myself or our children, at all. AITA, for not letting my BF's brother live with us? For context, my boyfriend and I's families know of us. We're practically married in their eyes. His brother is leaving his family's home to join my boyfriend's company, and he is 22 now. He doesn't have a support system here, and needs our help getting situated. My boyfriend wants him to live with us because he says, my parents believe I won't help them in their old age if I can't even help my own younger brother. Am I the asshole for not letting my boyfriend's brother live with us? For context, my boyfriend and I's families know of us. We're practically married in their eyes. His brother is leaving his family's home to join my boyfriend's company, and he is 22 now. He doesn't have a support system here and needs our help getting situated. The pressure started building when my boyfriend explained why this arrangement meant so much to his family. His parents had made their expectations crystal clear. They believed he wouldn't help them in their old age if he couldn't even help his own younger brother. The weight of that statement hung between us during every conversation about the living situation. His family's approval and future support hinged on this one decision. I held a completely different philosophy about young adults finding their independence. People should have to learn to stand on their own 2 feet. I didn't mind helping his brother initially with the transition, maybe finding him resources or giving advice about the area. But I could not imagine actually living with his brother in our shared space. The cultural dynamics made everything more complicated. In our culture, women usually live with their in-laws after marriage. I had been firmly against that traditional arrangement from the beginning of our relationship. My boyfriend had agreed that after we got married, we wouldn't live with his parents. We had established that boundary together. And now, it felt like his brother moving in would be testing those same principles we had already settled. The family's communication style added another layer of stress to the situation. I talked to his family 3 to 5 times a week through video calls. His mother insisted on calling every single day, and I genuinely hated that level of constant contact. I only spoke to my own family once or twice a week via video calls, and they totally understood and respected that frequency. The difference in family expectations about communication felt overwhelming. During one of these frequent family video calls, his brother made a comment that revealed exactly what he expected from this living arrangement. He looked directly at the camera and said he couldn't wait to eat the food I would make for him. He wasn't asking if I might occasionally cook or wondering about meal arrangements. He was already counting on me becoming his personal chef. I cooked for my boyfriend because I genuinely enjoy the process. I'd pour myself a nice glass of wine, put on music, and experiment with different recipes and flavors. The kitchen becomes my creative space where I can unwind from work. It never feels like a chore because I'm choosing to do something special for someone I love. But I absolutely refuse to become his brother's cook, especially since I work full-time and need my evenings to decompress. The drinking situation would create additional complications if his brother moved in. His family maintains strict rules against alcohol consumption, and I had never told them about my own drinking habits. Cultural norms and family harmony had kept me quiet about this part of my lifestyle. My boyfriend didn't drink alcohol himself, but he had learned to make incredible cocktails just for me. He would research recipes, buy special ingredients, and craft beautiful drinks that I could enjoy after difficult workdays. If his brother lived with us, I would have to hide this entire aspect of my personality and routine. No more wine while cooking dinner, no more cocktails mixed with love by my boyfriend, no more unwinding with a drink after particularly stressful days at work. The secrecy would turn my own home into a place where I couldn't be myself. The broader implications of changing my entire lifestyle for his brother's temporary housing needs felt unreasonable and unsustainable. I would have to modify my routine, suppress parts of my personality, and alter my living habits just because his brother needed a place to stay. My home would no longer feel like my sanctuary. My boyfriend couldn't understand why I was being so resistant to helping his family member. He saw his brother's request as reasonable and temporary, just until he got established in the new city and job. The company connection meant his brother would be working closely with my boyfriend, so they could support each other professionally as well as personally. But I saw the situation differently. His brother was 22 years old enough to figure out his own housing situation with some guidance, rather than expecting a full-service living arrangement. Plenty of young adults move to new cities for work and manage to find roommates, studio apartments, or other independent living situations without moving in with family members and their partners. The cooking expectation particularly bothered me because it revealed assumptions about gender roles that I wasn't comfortable accepting. His brother hadn't asked about splitting grocery bills or taking turns preparing meals. He had specifically mentioned looking forward to food that I would make, as if feeding him would automatically become my responsibility. I worried that once he moved in, other expectations would follow the same pattern. Would I be expected to do his laundry, clean common areas, manage household supplies and shopping? The traditional cultural framework that his family operated within might create a dynamic where I became responsible for domestic tasks simply because I was the woman in the house. The timeline for this arrangement remained unclear, which added to my anxiety about the situation. His brother needed help getting situated, but what did that actually mean? Was he planning to stay for a month while apartment hunting? 6 months while he saved money for a security deposit, a year while he established himself in his career. Without clear boundaries and expectations, I could end up with a permanent third roommate who expected full-service hospitality. My boyfriend's family dynamics put additional pressure on the decision. His parents had explicitly connected his willingness to help his brother with their expectations about future elder care. That kind of conditional family support created a situation where saying no felt like rejecting the entire family structure and my boyfriend's place within it. The daily phone calls with his mother would likely include regular check-ins about how his brother was adjusting and whether we were taking good care of him. The family's involvement in our daily life would intensify rather than decrease if he moved in with us. Every meal, every weekend plan, every aspect of how we were helping him settle in would become topics for family discussion and evaluation. I found myself imagining what our evenings would look like with his brother sharing our space. Instead of cooking dinner while chatting with my boyfriend about our days, I would be preparing food for 3 people, while making sure nothing I did or said revealed aspects of my lifestyle that his family wouldn't approve of. Instead of relaxing together after work, we would be entertaining his brother or helping him navigate his new job and city. The professional connection between my boyfriend and his brother would mean that work stress might follow them both home every day. If his brother struggled with aspects of the job or had conflicts with other employees, our living room would become an extension of their workplace discussions. If he succeeded and wanted to celebrate, our kitchen would become the venue for family celebrations. My boyfriend genuinely couldn't see why I was making such a big deal about a temporary living arrangement to help a family member in need. His cultural background emphasized family obligation and mutual support in ways that made my concerns seem selfish and individualistic. He had grown up in a household where family members regularly helped each other with housing, money, job connections, and daily support. I had grown up with a different model of family support that involved helping people become independent rather than creating dependent relationships. My family helped each other by teaching skills, providing connections, and offering advice, but not by taking over responsibilities that adults should handle themselves. The fundamental disagreement about how to help his brother reflected deeper differences in our approaches to family boundaries and adult independence. My boyfriend saw moving his brother in as natural family support. I saw it as enabling behavior that would prevent his brother from developing the life skills he needed to succeed on his own. The gender dynamics made everything more complicated because the cultural expectations about women's roles in hospitality and domestic care weren't openly discussed, but clearly influenced everyone's assumptions about how this arrangement would work. His brother expected me to cook for him. My boyfriend expected me to be welcoming and supportive, but nobody had asked what I expected or needed from our living situation, or what I was willing to sacrifice to accommodate his brother's transition to independent adulthood. My comfort in my own home, my evening routines, my privacy, and my lifestyle choices were all considered secondary to his brother's housing needs. The situation forced me to choose between being seen as supportive of my boyfriend's family and maintaining the boundaries that made me feel comfortable and authentic in my own living space. Either choice would have consequences for my relationship and my standing with his family. I realized that saying yes would set a precedent for future family requests and establish my role as someone who accommodated family needs regardless of my own preferences or comfort level. Saying no would mark me as someone who prioritized my own lifestyle over family obligations, potentially affecting how his parents viewed me as a future daughter-in-law. The weight of cultural expectations, family approval, and relationship harmony all pressed against my instinct to protect my personal space and maintain the lifestyle that helped me feel balanced and happy. His brother's assumption that I would cook for him crystallized all of these competing pressures into one clear moment of choice about what kind of life I was willing to live.